Jon Jones calls for a fight against Stipe. Daniel Cormier speaks on the Makhachev-Volkanovski rematch, and Bo Nickal has agreed to join Jake Paul. Actor and comedian Kevin James tells Chris Weidman about the time he ended up sparring with bantamweight contender Merab Dvalishvili, who didn't know Kevin was an actor and was under the impression Kevin was a professional heavyweight fighter.
He comes to gyms, he spars with guys like Merab Dvalishvili, who's ranked
that one. I will say that
he's ranked number 2 in the world. They call him the Machine.
Okay.
Go ahead. Talk about that sparring.
Let's be completely honest. I tag in, and then I go to, and Merab comes at me, and I swear, I go, hey, man, let's go. And I guess I look like a big, fat heavyweight or something. I didn't know what it was. But this guy turns it on, and he doesn't know I'm an actor. He's the only guy who didn't know I'm an actor.
He's from the country, Georgia. I guess King Queens is not big there.
It's not big there. I guess it's not. But he doesn't know. So he starts lighting me up like a Christmas tree. He starts tagging me, and I was freaking out. I have video. I got to show you the video. It's the funniest thing ever. I'm like, what the hell? Because I had headgear on, too. You remember? And it was just like, man, that was scary. I was like, you didn't tell this guy.
I love it. Yeah, Merab spars hard with everybody. So he thinks you're another pro fighter coming in. He's like, all right, I'm going to show this guy I'm the Machine.
Exactly.
And Kevin's looking at him like, bro, I'm an actor. I'm an actor.
He had to prove like I can knock out a heavyweight too, you know. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Staying on the bantamweight division, champion Aljamain Sterling will put his title on the line against former 2-division champion Henry Cejudo. The fight is targeted for UFC 288 in May. The location is yet to be determined. On the Weighing In podcast, Big John speaks on what this means for Sterling to potentially defeat a future Hall of Famer like Henry Cejudo.
First off, Henry Cejudo is a stud. He's a 2-division champion in the UFC. This guy's a gold medalist out of the Olympics. And yeah, he retired. And now he's back. And if Aljamain gets the first crack at him, I think if you're going to get a crack at him, that's the time to get it. So Aljamain's being smart. Let me get into him before he gets back on a roll or anything like that. You want a shot at the title? I'm the guy you got to come through. I think it's a good fight for both. They both have aspects. Aljamain has, usually he controls his fights through his grappling. He's not going to have an easy time just using wrestling to get Cejudo down. That ain't going to happen. He's got to hurt Cejudo in the stand-up, either with body shots or shots to the head that are doing damage to him. But he's got to use his stand-up to get to the point where his grappling can take effect. Obviously, once it gets into the submission game, he's fantastic with his submissions and probably better than Henry in that area by far. But trying to hold on to someone that's got Henry's grappling experience and the wrestling has is not easy to do. So this is a tough fight, but I think it does a lot for Aljamain if he gets a win here. And you're beating a guy. They call him Triple C, triple champion, being Olympic in 2 divisions, both the flyweight and the bantamweight in the UFC. How could this not be something that, you put on your mantle, something that, says something about how good you are? I think this is the right fight. I think it's the right fight for Henry Cejudo to come back on, because being the fact that he was a 2-division champion, he walked away from the title, and retired for a while, and now he's coming back. I think he deserves the shot at the title to get his title back because he's the one that laid it down. And I think it's a great, opportunity for Aljamain Sterling to get his shot at a guy that, is got all the tools and all the knowledge necessary to regain that title. He's there to prove, well, you know what, times have passed you by, and I'm here to prove it. So great, fantastic. I hope, I'd like to see that as the main event of 288. That's a great main event.
Another former champion set for his return is Jon Jones, but this time at heavyweight, where he will face a former heavyweight champion in Ciryl Gane. While speaking with TMZ Sports, Jones expressed great interest in fighting an all-time heavyweight great in Stipe Miocic, providing he beats Gane. Stipe Miocic would be a great challenge. Obviously, I'm not looking past Ciryl Gane. I got a huge order ahead of me. But Stipe Miocic is who I've got my eyes on. People consider him the greatest heavyweight of all time. The opportunity to compete against such a man, I would be honoured. To beat such a guy would truly be something special, and that's what I want to do. I want to solidify my legacy, and I know you've got to fight the best guys out there. As long as Stipe is still in the game, that would be my next target. And at the last pay-per-view event, we had the privilege of seeing the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters give it their all, and with the way things ended up, many fans have demanded a rematch. However, Daniel Cormier doesn't believe that the rematch should happen right away. Instead, he believes the 2 champions should focus on their own divisions first. Islam's got work to do in his own weight class, and so does Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski owes it to Yair Rodriguez to go and give him an opportunity to try to become the undisputed champion of the world. And I don't know if it's fair to Beneil Dariush if he beats Charles Oliveira to not get his chance to fight for the lightweight championship of the world. This is the danger in super fights. You get a close super fight and people are clamoring to see it again. When in reality, we have 2 divisions that need the champions back in order to give us a little clarity. And shifting gears a little bit into something more boxing related, content creator turned professional boxer Jake Paul divides opinion among the community. But rising MMA star Bo Nickal has agreed to train with Paul and help him improve his wrestling for a potential shift to MMA. On the Weighing In podcast, Josh Thompson gives his insight into how this will affect Bo Nickal's future.
I mean, they both could probably help each other a little bit. I mean, Jake could probably help with some boxing. If you think about this, right? If Bo Nickal hangs around with Jake Paul, maybe he has access to his boxing coaches, the ones that Jake Paul pays a ton of money to have around. So that being said, if he gets a little bit of input from those coaches, all those top-level coaches, I mean, that's no different with other fighters. A lot of people would show up at Wildcard because if they could just get a little tip from Freddie Roach here, a little bit of advice from one of the other coaches that was there, it was a lot to take in. Oh, you're just, you know what? Because top-level coaches don't say too much. They'll just tell you the biggest things that they see that you could be improved on in just a couple words. And that's all you need to, that's what makes Javier Mendez such a great coach. That guy will talk your damn ear off. But when it comes to like actual coaching, he's like, no, move your head a little bit. No, move your head a little bit. Like there's not much. No, move your head offline. No, like don't dip your head, throw your jab off your movement. That's all he'll say. There's not a lot of like, yeah, put your foot here. Okay, yeah, but drop your shoulder here. Okay, yeah, but do this. There's none of that. Top-level coaches don't worry about that little stuff. They do when it's like real breakdown training, but when they're watching you do whatever it is you're doing in a sparring session, those coaches that are around Jake Paul and you got Bo Nickal there, they're going to say, okay, look, you're looking good with your power. You're looking good with your pressure. But instead of just lunging in with your shots, maybe take a step to the right or the left and then throw off of that. And then if you land clean, then throw another shot. That's probably as much input as they're going to give him for a day or two. And they're going to say, hey, work off of that. That's the type of things, like they're taking the overall picture. What are the main things that I can say to you that will have an automatic impact? That's what big coaches, that's what big time coaches do. They're not worried about, they're not worried about, okay, yeah, if you got to move your foot here as you do this and then do this, then move your shoulder this way. Okay, make sure you keep your chin tucked. Okay, coaches aren't doing that. Not major coaches, not big time coaches. Now, if you're their guy, you're the one that you're working with them nonstop and you've been working with them on a daily basis, then they're going to fine tune you. Okay, your chin's coming up when you throw your jab. Let's work on keeping that tennis ball tucked, between your chin and your chest. Let's work on that a little bit. There's little details. They're going to have drills have you work on your drills in certain things. That's when they work on the fine-tuned stuff. But if Bo Nickal's in there sparring with him, and afterwards Jake Paul's coaches come over and talk to him and say, hey, or they work with him on the mitts, they're going to work on one, maybe two things. They're going to be simple as hell, and he's going to get better because of it. So I think it's a wise choice. And Jake Paul, if you can get any wrestling whatsoever out of Bo Nickal, which I can't imagine he wouldn't, then that's going to make him a better fighter if he decides to fight MMA. Hands down, better fighter. Bo Nickal is at a level where he's going to give that solid, world-class wrestling advice. It's going to be one or two things. Do this, do that. It's going to change the game. It's going to change the way that Bo Nickal approaches his stand-up and change the way Jake Paul adapts to his wrestling. It's the way Jake Paul is going to have to make some changes to his wrestling. And then Bo Nickel has that type of advice.